So, Louie, I wanted to welcome you on our show, the punter from Utah State, the punter of four different NFL franchises, and get it all kicked off with how did you get involved with football as a kid?
My three older brothers played. So I wanted to be like them. So, you know, that old movie, Be Like Mike. Yeah, I was like my three older brothers. I was the manager of the high school football team before I got to high school, and so it all fell in.
Heck yeah, man. Besides your brothers, who were your sports role models?
Shoot, you know, growing up on the West Coast at the time, you know, I grew up, you know, following the Oakland A's and the San Francisco Giants and the A's. Raiders and Niners. So I mean, I wanted to be like those guys. You know, I wanted to be like, you know, Reggie Jackson, Vita Blue, Sal Bando. You know, the old players from the A's, and for the old Raiders. Wanted to be like the old Oakland Raiders. You know, whether it be Van Egan or Stabler or George Blanda or Freddie Blintikoff, you know, guys like that. So it was, you know, anytime I was out in the backyard, you know, well, we didn't really have much of a backyard back in California. It was like
Heck yeah, the grass would die.
Yeah, I mowed it yesterday. I was actually out in California, and I mowed it for my parents. And I forgot how small it was. Like, it took me like 2 minutes. It took me like a minute to mow the backyard.
Heck yeah, man.
That was with the weed eater.
Quick and easy.
Yeah.
So, Louie, how did Utah State come about for you, and what was their pitch to get you to come play football for them?
When I was getting recruited, I went to junior college in Chabot College in Hayward, California. And their pitch was, hey, we'll pay for your schooling. I'm okay. I had three older brothers in college at one time, so I'm okay. That sounds good. That will help my mom and dad out.
Heck yeah.
And I went up there for a recruiting trip, and I fell in love with the weather up there. Not with the weather, but I fell in love with where it was at, located up in Cache Valley. It was beautiful up there. The snow was awful, but get off the plane and go on up there, and I got 5 feet of snow. I'm like, can I go back home to California where it's sunny and warm? But it was too late. I already signed my letter of intent, and I was going. My parents were not going to let me come home.
Heck yeah, man. So how did Utah State help you prepare for the next level, the NFL?
Going from high school to junior college to Division I football, those guys, the guys on the field kept getting faster and faster. And so that's, it helped me out that way. Seeing how fast these players were. It makes a big difference. I mean, it's a different game. Then in the NFL, it's like these guys are really fast.
Heck yeah, man.
You got guys rushing at you, because like in college you have, as long as a JUCO, you might have one guy that was, a good rusher or fast, every couple of games. In college it was like that, but then in the NFL it was like every one of the players were like that. I mean, yeah, you got all 11 guys on the other side of the field on the punt rush team. They're all fast. It's not just like one guy; it's all 11. So any one of those guys, the returner can break it. The guys on the rush team can block it. So I mean So playing at Utah State, playing against Nebraska, Kentucky, Mizzou, they had big time players. So that playing against teams like that helped me out tremendously.
Heck yeah, man. So looking back at your 10-year career in the NFL, what stands out? And if you had something to change, what would you change?
I could play longer.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I'm 55 years old, and I don't miss the game as much. But what I do miss is the camaraderie of the players, being in the locker room. You know, because we're a close knit family. You know, you're with those guys, 6 days a week for 6 months, and I miss the camaraderie of being in the locker room and hanging out with the guys and pulling pranks and telling jokes and just being one big family. And that's the biggest thing I miss is the camaraderie of the players. Because when you get done, a lot of times it's not your choice of being done. So when I got cut my last year, it wasn't my choice. I wanted to keep playing. But a lot of times in the NFL, they tell you when you're done. You don't tell them when you're done. And I was punting the ball well, but when I got released, it's like, okay, this is when the salary cap first started, and so we're trying to save some money. And I'm all, well, if you want to save some money, why don't you ask your quarterback who's making at the time, $5 million, ask them to take $250,000 pay cut. You're cutting me, and you want me from what you say, but it's salary cap. Why don't you ask your quarterback to take a little bit of a pay cut? They're not going to do that. So that's a lot of the times how it ends.
Heck yeah, man. Hey, you brought up the jokes of the locker room. Who was the biggest jokester, man? This is off the cuff, man. Off the cuff.
Montana. Joe Montana. Joe was a character. He and I and Minuski, we used to pull pranks on each other. I remember when I met Joe Montana. Hey, I grew up watching Joe. I watched him at Notre Dame. I watched him when I was growing up, in the Bay Area. And it was just like, oh, my God, you're Joe Montana. The first time I met him, next thing I know, it's like, shoot, we're pulling pranks on each other. And it was just, him and Greg Minuski were probably the two biggest pranksters I was with throughout my career.
Definitely, man. So, Louie, life after football for you, how have you applied the trials and tribulations of the game to your personal life?
Whatever I do, when I got done playing, I grew up back home in California, working with my hands, doing construction, stuff like that. So when I got done playing, I started doing the same thing until I finished my college degree at age 42 and went back to teaching. But doesn't matter what you do. Like I said, construction, I've been a plumber, I've taught college, I've taught high school, I've coached in the NFL. Whatever you do, you're going to give it your all, because there's no reason, there's no use doing it if you're not going to do it 100%. And that's what was installed to me by my parents when I was a little kid. So it doesn't matter what you do in life, always give 100%. And I did that, when I was trying to get into the NFL and when I played, and then also, for the last 20 years after playing, whatever you do it to the best of your knowledge. And that way, if you do it correctly the first time, you don't have to go back and fix it. Especially in construction or plumbing, so you don't want to go back and fix it.
Extra money.
I've learned, from playing NFL, just do it right the first time.
Definitely, man. So my next 3 questions are brought to you by B&D Sports Media. How can the Jets provide Zach Wilson with help, whether it's via free agency, drafting players, and what do they need as a team for the Jets?
Oh, quite a bit. To get help for them right now, they almost got to do free agency to get, players that can play for them now. That's the way I look at it. Go through free agency, get players that can him out now, so that way he doesn't get shell shocked. Same thing with the kid down in Jacksonville. They got to get free agency, so that way these kids don't get shell shocked. These guys, he's a great quarterback. and you don't want to give them shell shock. As soon as they do, I mean, they never come back, and so I don't want to see that for him. I want the best for every guy that ever plays in the NFL, especially, teams that I played for. And so I want this kid to do well.
Definitely. They just got their tight end, man. Uzama from the Bengals.
Yeah.
They gave him a healthy contract. So my next one, will the Chiefs, your former team, regret giving Patrick Mahomes that $500 million contract, man? He didn't play up to par last year.
Yeah. I mean, every year's a different year. From what I see, Tyrann Matthews, he's, he might be leaving. Giving somebody 25% of the salary cap. Now you have to try and take care of 52 players with 75% of the salary cap, and that's tough to do. So I know they're probably going to have to restructure his contract in order to get some of these guys re-signed, and he'll just keep getting. He'll still make us $50 million, but it'll be more of a signing bonus to try and get some of these guys signed that they need to keep on the team. And so I think it might hurt him in the long run, but I'm hoping it doesn't. But you look at somebody like, I hate to bring his name up, but Brady, he was never the highest paid player on his teams because he wanted to give the wealth to everybody else. And when you see that a lot of these quarterbacks who want to get paid the big money, a lot of those teams don't go onto the playoffs or the Super Bowl because they don't have people surrounding them. And that's what I'm afraid is going to happen here.
Definitely, man. Their running back core is, besides a layer, it's non-existent.
Right.
Like,
and so
if you don't have an offensive line either, that offensive line makes you or breaks you.
Right. They had a great offensive line, and then next thing you know, they let quite a few of the guys go last year. Then they try to, fix it through free agency, and it didn't work. So I am worried that it's going to come back and bite them in the butt.
For sure, man. You have to build around your quarterback, but don't invest all your salary cap into one player.
I mean, one player who's 25. I mean, the salary cap's not even at $200 million. Last year it was at 168, and he's at 50. He's at $50 million. I mean, that's almost 30. That's almost 30% of your salary cap. I mean, it's like you're at your house and your net money is 30% of it's going to your gas bill, and you still have all the other bills to pay in your house. It hurts.
Heck yeah, man. It doesn't. It's more downgrading your wallet than anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, you can't afford that nice new car now. You got to go and get a clunker to make ends meet.
Definitely, man. We're talking about big contracts. 3 years for $150. Aaron Rodgers just got this.
I know.
How do you think that will affect the Packers going forward?
What are they going to do with Love? He's out of Utah State. I've been following that kid. I mean, he's been sitting the bench now. And he's going to be a free agent here pretty soon, and they're going to have to pay him if they want to keep him around. These guys are getting this big money. It's going to affect them because they got to keep their running back. They got to keep I can't think of his name. 33. He's out of El Paso, Texas.
Jones.
Yeah, they got to keep him around. They got to keep the 17, the receiver, around.
They just franchised him.
Yeah.
He doesn't even want to play under the franchise tag. He was like yesterday, heck with that. I don't want to play under that.
Right. He wants to get paid just like everybody else is, but they're not going to have the money to pay him. So, like I said, a lot of these teams that pay the big-time quarterbacks, a lot of times, when the Vikings – I remember when the Vikings paid Cousins. At the time, he was one of the top-paid quarterbacks, and they haven't made the playoffs because they have no money left to pay all the other players. And these teams don't understand that. Oh, well, we got our franchise guy. Okay. You got to pay everybody else. And they don't do that. and that comes back and bites them in the butt. And I played for the Packers. I'm worried about that. I played for the Chiefs. I'm worried about that. The Jets, they have lots of money. Hopefully they can get some players.
Hey, their salary. The Bengals, that's another one that's a real head scratcher too. They have all that salary cap, and what are they doing with it?
Well, the Bengals have never, ever since the salary cap has been out there, the Bengals have never used their whole salary cap because the owner he pockets the money. They've always been way under the cap. Like I remember when I was playing, when it was like at $55 million at the time, or $50 million. Now it's tripled that, but the owners have to pay out at least like 68%, and the Bengals have always paid out just 68%, whatever the minimum they have to pay. They pay that out because they don't want to. They pocket the rest of the money, so it's crazy.
It
so
is, man.
Bengals have a lot of money, and that kid Burrow, he's good.
Yeah, and Jamar Chase is another one.
Yeah,
those guys they're gonna have to break the bank.
Yeah, they are.
And their defense needs to step up too.
Yeah,
they just think they franchised their corner this year.
Yeah, I mean, hey, they beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, so they have nowhere to go but up with all that money that they have.
Yeah, but that's just like you said. If they're willing to spend it, though.
Yeah, if they spend it, they'll they can go and get quite a few players.
Definitely.
They're always
Louie, I'll leave you on this, man. Where can my audience find you on social media?
Oh Jesus. I have a Twitter account. I don't know what it is. I have an Instagram account. I don't twit much, and I don't put much stuff out. What is it? I'm 55
Twitter.
years old. I'm a young kid. I'm an old man. I mean, I'm not a young kid. I think it's
Twitter.
I think it's at Laggy 10, LAGGIE 10 for my. I think that's what it is for my Twitter and my Instagram account, both of them. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Or it's Louie Aguiar. Or my Twitter might be Louie Aguiar. Shows you how much I use it.
Definitely.
I usually use it to scroll through to find all the stuff that's going on in sports, but I don't throw much stuff out there, so I have no idea. Us old guys don't figure that stuff out very easy.
Hey, I got you, man. I'll show you the ropes.
Hey, I appreciate it. I need all the help I can get.
Hey, you could show me how to punt a football better than I can.
That too.
Hey,
we can do that live. We can do that live.
Let's do it.
Right.
Let's do it. Blessings, my brother.
All right,
and this concludes our interview, man. So